Immediacy. I bet you know what that is. Models? Models are a little abstract, but we know that it has some relationship to a group's or individual's immediacy. Okay? It's trying to establish a grammatical relationship to an order beyond yourself. And I get it. That was a lot of words. You probably tuned this out. I apologize. But all of this is just me experimenting with what I can communicate to the outside world and hopefully make money off of. So, excuse me if I'm being a little liberal with my mentally words today. Okay, so what are these words on screen? These are just my hunch dimensions of what a model, how we relate or how we evaluate models. Models, are they familiar? Yes, no. Are they functional? Yes, no. Are they transformable? Okay, this is my thing. This is where I feel all the shittiness and annoyingness of the 21st century is really inhabited, because you can tell if someone's model of their immediacy is transformable if they can say out loud in front of people without feeling ashamed. That's if things aren't as expected and they have a contingency plan, right? They're willing to evaluate or set up a test case that weights their own model, and they're really willing to reevaluate. That is pretty fucking rare in the open world. Now back to the words I claimed this riff is about. So the proto and meta. Here are my thoughts, and they're pretty foggy right now, so bear with me. So the literal interpretation of these words, whatever the fuck that means. If you go to etymology.com and you put in these two prefixes, you're gonna get a before after interpretation of these prefixes, and I'm calling that the linear literal interpretation, where people establish like an apocalyptic, if this model doesn't work, it's over, right? The meta of a literal meta in the literal sense, without the mentally interpretation is just what happens after the model. The more exponential self-relating interpretation of these terms is just this idea of iteration. There's a self dimension to these models that can operate on each level. The proto is like the seed, and the meta iteration of the model is how you tune. The thing doesn't die, it transforms at each level of meta. There's that self-relation, sort of like a mythic mental space that exists almost orthogonal in the most idyllic sense to the brutal open world, right? And yeah, those are my thoughts. Most of the time, people are annoying because they take a linear, literal interpretation of their models when they have if a model is familiar and functional and they don't have the transformation protocol, they won't pay the transformation tax, because to them they have a death anxiety and they don't have that exponential self-relating interpretation. They only see the end of iteration n. They don't see the possibility of iteration n plus 1. And if there was a magic trick to ground people into that transformation metaphor, I think the world would be less stupid.